Like any debut filmmaker, Misha Zelener is nervous about the release of his first feature film entitled Warning. Essentially, it's a story about growing up. A group of immigrant youngsters wade through a society into which they were not born, watching as their dreams get lost in the adolescent reality of love and drugs. The actors act in Russian, but in fact we are in the poorer southern suburbs of Tel Aviv. Zelener tells his own story. After leaving Moscow in 1999, his first years in Israel were tough. But he was given a chance, 30 days and 100,000 euros to make his first film. Encouraging newcomers may well be behind a recent revival in fortunes for the Israeli film industry. Has the director of the Israeli Film Fund noticed a change in the way films are made that could explain this new boom?
The most successful films in Israeli cinema in recent years are the very stories which are based very heavily on the personal stories of the filmmakers.
The strength of the connection between filmmakers and the country they live in varies. As Israelis commemorate 60 years since the foundation of the state, we ask what has changed in this society and what is still relevant.
Open up the stories into stories which come first of all from the different regions in the country, from different communities in the country, really bringing this total collapse of the melting pot philosophy which was in the basis of this country, and which the founding fathers thought that they are creating a new type of an Israeli which never really worked, and the filmmakers in the last 10 years resorted to go back to the roots, to the parents and grandparents' stories.
I think in the 90s the main subjects that Israeli cinema dealt were Palestinian-Israeli relationships. I think maybe 1/3 of the film was dealing with this subject, maybe even more. And somewhere in the late 90s, there was a move into more personal things, more personal stories.
That is certainly true of last year's The Band's Visit, which won awards in Cannes, Montreal and Sarajevo. It concerns interhuman rather than inter-ethnic relations.
We do coffee?
Yes. No, please, we're fine.
The Band's Visit was directed by Eran Kolirin. His Discovery of the Year award at the European Film Academy was a first for Israeli cinema. Sasson Gabay was also named Best Actor by the Academy.
This place is inventing itself, from moment to moment. The question, who are we, which may be very obvious for the French filmmaker, is not very clear for me. And this search for identity between the East, between the West, between our families, finding ourselves in this very young country, being, in conflict for all its existence, it's a very crucial part of the way that stories are told here, searching for the identity.
The producer of The Band's Visit believes another factor in the current purple patch in Israeli cinema is the difference between rich and peaceful nations and countries still struggling for means, money and markets.
Israeli cinema, as Mexican film, as cinema, as Argentinian, as Iranian, as Romanian, are coming. These are cinemas that are coming from difficult countries that the artists have something to say.
1998 was the low point for Israeli cinema. In a population of 10 million, all Israeli films combined sold just 36,000 tickets. That's 0.3%. They also disappeared from European screens and festivals.
All the industry, and this is one of the secrets, all the industry, all the filmmaker, the writer, producer, director, technicians, all of us got together and we understood that it's a make or break. And we went out up to the politicians and we told them basically one thing: give us another chance.
A new cinema law was voted, channeling money into the industry. A decade later, and the landscape had changed. In 2007, the local audiences were back to 14%, and Israeli films reappeared at festivals and carried off prizes. And with success came foreign investment, shown here in red. Most co-productions are made with France and Germany. The European Union, through its Euromed Audiovisual 2 programme, aims to enhance cooperation with a budget of 15 million euros over 3 years. The Turkish-Spanish-Israeli Greenhouse project is one of those taking part.
The seminars of Greenhouse, this might be the only place where you can meet filmmakers from Israel and from the Arab countries sitting together around one round table working together. We plant seeds of normality. We plant seeds for the future. So this is really a very beginning point of understanding each other in the region.
Greenhouse brings together filmmakers from across the Middle East and the Maghreb. Israeli filmmakers have built a reputation for high-quality documentary films, a field in which the Greenhouse project is very much involved. We head north to the Druze village of Daliat El Carmel to meet a young Druze documentary maker, Osnat Hadid. The Druze community harbours both a traditional and modern way of life, and both pro- and anti-Israeli sentiment. Greenhouse allows for stories from different angles that may either attack or support official Israeli policy.
For documentary makers, there are many stories to be told here in this region because there are so many different cultures, so many different religions and so many conflicts. All those aspects create an environment where you find many different personal stories which are told at the same time, relevant political and social stories that need to be told.
The big question for Osnat is, why are the young men of the Druze community forced to serve in the Israeli army, even when they do not identify with the state of Israel? For 2 years, she and her camera team have been following her brother and his dilemma: obey the army's call or risk prison.
When you see all of these films, you find a reflection of Israeli societies nowadays. Now we are not engaged anymore, like 60 years ago, in the cause of establishing a state. So it's time for us to bring our unique voices.
The new wave of Israeli cinema may just be a fleeting success, but its many different voices believe it's being led by a strong current that will ensure a prosperous future.